Welcome to the Fifth Estate, a conversation between young African scholars from the Foothold School of Government and Professor Mutahi Ngunyi. Today we will post a letter to His Excellency William Ruto on how not to become president. And we will borrow from the Moi School of Politics, where Ruto was the only student in the boarding facility. President Kenyatta attended classes through night school. President Salva Kiir attended by correspondence. And President Yoweri Museveni borrowed notes from the clever students in his class. We write to His Excellency Ruto because he needs a refresher course. The presidency is his in 2022, but he's working very hard not to become president. And this is why.
Dear Mr. Deputy President, sir, you will not become president in 2022. You will be made president. There is no agreement between you and President Uhuru Kenyatta. What we have is a covenant between the Kalenjin nation and the Gikuyu nation. Sir, you and President Kenyatta are not the owners of this covenant. You're just trustees. You're custodians of institutional intents. And this is why you will not become president. You will be made president by this covenant between the Gikuyu and the Kalenjin nations. Sir, this thing is beyond you. In fact, it is besides you. The presidency in 2022 is not about Ruto. It is about preserving a covenant with or without Ruto and Uhuru. And this brings me to another point. We elected both of you because we were afraid of civil war. But instead of healing the nation, we decided to do development things. You acted as though nothing has happened. My question to you, sir, is therefore this. If the Gikuyu Kalenjin covenant will make you president and give us peace, where does this leave the other 40 nations of Kenya? Can you become the architect that extends this covenant to them? Do you have what it takes?
Dear Mr. Ruto, allow me to give you a story from my grandmother. It's about a hungry hyena that roamed around in search of prey. In one of its escapades, it came across a young, tender calf tied to a post. On realizing how lucky it was, the hyena looked to the heavens to pray. And this was his prayer. Almighty, all good things come from you. However, would you really say that this tender calf is from you? If I found it without your help, can you really claim it's your doing? The Almighty smiled and said nothing. And because the hyena was hungry, it decided to begin its meal by eating the rope first, then end by eating the tender calf on the other side of the rope. So the rope was an appetizer. But after a few bites on the rope, the calf was untied and it escaped happily. "Oh God," cried the hyena, "I was only joking. Please, give me back the calf." But it was too late. Mr. Ruto, like the calf in this story, the presidency is yours in 2022. But are you focusing on the rope around the calf instead of the big reward at the end of the rope?
William Ruto has become cocky. And I'm saying this as an age mate who will do everything to make him president. I'm also saying this because there's a science to becoming president. And the first law of this science is to conceal your intentions. In other words, they must never see you coming. As Napoleon taught us, you must wear a velvet glove behind your iron fist. Unfortunately, Ruto is walking around town with his iron fist visible and exposed. This is scary for a man who wants to become president. He needs to buy a velvet glove and cover his fists, in my view. But there is a second law to the science of becoming president. Whoever desires this office must have a high threshold for pain. He must enjoy pain. Arap Moi shared his presidential limousine with 3 abrasive Gikuyus who believed they had made him president. He fed on humble pie and enjoyed. William Ruto is unfortunately the exact opposite of this man. He feels a little bit of pain and he attacks inconsequential earthlings who spend their lives picketing on the streets. This is eating the rope that tied the calf instead of focusing on the provisions of the good Lord, which is the presidency that awaits him.
Dear Mr. Deputy President, Sir, you have not made the shift from hard-working, high-energy hustler to a prince. To become president, you need to shift from hustler politics to posh politics. But there is an entry requirement for posh politics. You need to have a serious enemy. And this is because, as one philosopher said, a prince profits more from his enemies than a fool from his friends. Without a worthy enemy, we grow lazy and content. Jomo Kenyatta had an enemy in Jaramogi Odinga. Kibaki had an enemy in Charles Jonjo, and Moi had a worthy enemy in Kibaki. You, sir, are allergic to good enemies. But to become president, you need one at zero option. And the best way to get one is to betray a friend. This is because a friend who becomes an enemy knows where to strike. Maybe you should consider betraying a friend, Duale or Murkamen, just for fun.
To become president, you need a good enemy to keep you on your toes. With an enemy like Raila, for instance, Uhuru cannot sleep on his job. William Ruto, however, has no worthy enemy that we know of. And my hypothesis is that the person who will become his running mate will have been a bitter enemy. And that this person will have been manufactured by the Kenyan nation the way you produce a test tube baby to keep Ruto in check. If that's the case, then, is Peter Kenneth the person? Is he positioning himself to be Ruto's running mate? I think Peter Kenneth is overrated, but I could also be wrong. Or is it Mother Karua? My thinking is that she is not the one, although I would wish that she was the one. In my view, Ruto's running mate will be none other but one Anne Waiguru. Ridiculous as this may sound. Politically, she is a test tube baby manufactured with tenacity and raw aggression. Her assignment is to contain William Ruto when he becomes president. And unlike Karua and Peter Kenneth, she will not argue or question her makers. And she will therefore serve as a political insurance for the Kenyan nation in a Ruto presidency.
Dear Mr. Deputy President, sir, politics is perception and power is about appearances. A critical tool of power is silence. Powerful people say very little. In fact, powerful people have stale breath because they do not engage in the practice of running their mouths. This is why one thinker said, you have more power when you shut up. The less you say, the deeper and more thoughtful you appear. Moi was as inarticulate and vague as they come. Kibaki was articulate at some point, and then he learned the art of silence and vagueness. And this is why one Chinese philosopher advised, never move your lips before the crowds do. The longer you keep quiet, the sooner the crowds will move their lips. And when they move their lips, you will read their intentions. Once you understand their intentions, you will act appropriately. And this is how to read the Gikuyu nation. If you keep silent long enough, they will move their lips, and their lips will tell you, tuko pamoja. This is how Moi became president. He spoke very little as he lay in wait. Sir, do you have the temperament to do so?